Carter here, back in Model Railway Easily. Uh, this episode, doing a lot of work on the upper board, starting off with kind of connecting up the factories to, well, adding a main road and then connecting them to it. Also connect the concrete plant that's back there at the end of the road, and do some more foliage work, kind of finishing off the upper portion of the model railroad board itself. I also add another line off of this track on the upper part uh, to accommodate a connection to one of the buildings. Right now, I'm connecting the two machine shops to a little bit of a road. I was going to do it manually, but then I just changed my mind and decided to add kind of a curved road and slide it underneath. I didn't think it looked that bad, so went with the curved one. Had to do a little bit of tweaking here and there just to make sure that it sat underneath the uh, the main road there. And then I do a little bit of painting um, on some of the other underneath a few of the other factory areas. This one I decided to choose to uh, go through and use the pre-made pavement boards rather than doing paint, just because the paint sometimes can get a little touchy. This one was a smaller factory, did some pavement out front, and then there's a loading dock in the back, so I did just kind of a dirt road just back to the back there to do some loading. Uh, the cement factory took a little bit of doing. Ran the road basically to the front door, and then behind, I had initially kind of envisioned doing like a just a giant pit where they were extracting a lot of some of the rocks that they would use to put together the cement. But at the very end of the video, I go through and end up doing some changes on it. Yeah, here's the cement pit, if you will. I go back through and end up turning it kind of into the end of kind of a small, I don't know if you would call it a ravine necessarily. Um, but that's kind of what I had envisioned. And I'll end up running that down on the lower portion of the board, kind of carrying off to the right side of the board. Do some painting here, but I will need to go back through and do some touch up. Yeah, I had to go back because I painted over some of the black parking lot there. So I basically there's an undo option, and so I went back to that. I was looking at the building here and was thinking about just kind of sliding it directly up against the train track, and then I decided, you know what, we'll just do a little offshoot of the main line here, and then put it up against that, and it worked rather well. The only issue that I really have with it is the other line doesn't sit fully parallel for some reason, parallel to the main line, and yeah, just for the life of me couldn't get it to sit fully parallel, but it's close. So we'll go with it. I also thought there was a coal car itself for the train, but going through, I looked and I didn't actually see it. Um, because I was going to do a couple coal cars over near the coal plant, but without it, not a whole lot I can do there. Uh, did some painting for the drive for this particular factory. do a little bit of touch-up work on the concrete and do a little bit of grass overcoming the edges of the concrete pad. Give it a little bit of life. And then we do start to add in some trees to some of the different areas. Grab some of the bushes there. And then we start to fill in some of the blank area with some of the foliage. And I do end up moving some of it towards the end to get a little bit clearer view. You'll see that I take some time and look at it from the front angle to see what it would look like from the front of the board, and decide to go through and just kind of move some of the trees out so you can get a little bit more view on the what's happening on kind of the upper half of the board on the factory half. But just kind of filling in some trees here, giving it a little bit more life, trying not to bury too much. And then as I'm going through, pulling through some of these trees, the the denseness of it is a little bit too much, so I do start to clear some of them out. Yeah, here you can see I'm just kind of looking from that front edge, looking up towards the factory area, just kind of moving some of the trees down a little bit so you can get a better view as to what's happening up there. I clear some out from the back factory so you can kind of see it. Um, the foliage still might be a little bit much. I might go back through and take some more of it out. Just kind of keep it a little bit less dense. Um, at this point, just kind of started to work on the factory over on the far side. I dropped that below just to see if the game would default to having a actual truss bridge underneath it if you lowered it, and it does create that. And so I decided to do kind of a ravine here, added a little bit of elevation change, and then come back through and do some rocks to kind of line the walls a little bit more. I want to go back through and kind of repaint this area a little bit more because I still not 100% sold on how it ended up turning out. So I will end up going back through and doing some touch-up paint work on here. But I go through, kind of stack some rocks coming out of the wall. So it looks a little bit more natural. That will kind of follow its way down into the lower town portion of it. And I think the ravine's going to kind of run itself to the immediate right in front of the tunnel. And the main street, I guess, for lack of a better term, is going to kind of curve a little bit more around towards the beach on its way out of town from the left to right. So got a little bit more work to go, but do some tweaking on some of the rocks, and again, I'll probably go back through, do some little bit more painting, but that's basically where I leave. I added some trees, do a little bit of tweaking here, and it moved all the rocks up, so I had to go back through and kind of reseat them. But I add some more trees to the right-hand side near the coal factory. Add in some of the coal over here as well, and just kind of clean up the area. But that's we're pretty close to finishing up the top portion of the board, and gonna probably do a little bit of minor tweaks up here and start work on the lower portion next. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys for being here, and definitely look forward to seeing you guys again in Model Railway Easily 2. And as always, I hope you guys have yourselves an amazing day.
Fire.